In this problem, we're going to go over Chapter 12, Homework Problem 19. If you'd like to follow along, open the Chapter 12 Homework.xlsx workbook from My Courses and click on the Problem 19 tab. So all we have to do is, for the 5 years, we've told that cash flows are uncertain, but they have a mean of 8,000 per year with a standard deviation of 500, and then we're supposed to determine how risky this investment is. So to determine how risky, we need the mean, we need the standard deviation, and we need the probability of making a loss, having a negative net present value. So if I wanted to solve this using Excel, I can use Excel or the analytic solver. If I wanted to solve it using Excel, in cell B6, I'll enter the formula equals norm.inv, open the parentheses, the probability, RAND, open parentheses, close parentheses. That gives you a random number between 0 and 1, works great as a random probability. We're given that the mean is 8,000 and the standard deviation is 500. Close up the parentheses and hit enter. And because there are no cell references, only numbers, we can just use the fill handle and copy that formula down. Notice how we get 5 different numbers. So now if we wanted to solve this using a data table, in cell E1 I'll type trial, and let's do 1,000 trials. So again, I'll type the number 1. I'm going to click back on cell E2, click Home, Fill, and Series. Down the column, step value of 1 with a stop value of 1,000. So I click OK. And now in cell F1, I type an equal sign and then click on cell B12, the net present value. Now I'm going to select the range, so I can do Control Shift and right arrow, and then without letting go of the Control Shift, I'm going to do my down arrow, and I've now selected the entire range very easily. I'm going to scroll back up, although it's not necessary, just so you can see my worksheet, and I'm going to click Data in the Forecast group, What If Analysis, and Data Table. In the column input cell, we're just going to click a blank cell because we don't want it to substitute the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for anything. We just basically want it to recalculate 1,000 times. So in the column input cell, I'm just going to click a blank cell. I click cell I6 and I click OK, and now I have 1,000 trials. So to get the distribution, we'll type the mean, standard deviation, and once again the probability of having a negative, so we'll just count the losses. So for the mean, I'll click in cell J1 equals, that was not J1, escape. Click in cell J1 equals average. Open the parentheses, click on F2, don't include the title. Control Shift down. Close up the parentheses and hit enter. So we've got our average of the range F2 to F1001. So for the standard deviation equals STDEV, I'm going to choose STDEV.S, so I'll type STDEV.S, open the parentheses, that's 2 D's, STDEV.S, open the parentheses, click cell F2, Control Shift down, close up my parentheses, and hit enter. So now we have the distribution. We have a mean of 1946 with a standard deviation of 890. So remember, about 95% of our observations are going to come within 2 standard deviations of the mean, so it looks like we may possibly have negative values. So I'm going to click in cell J4 equals COUNTIF, open the parentheses, the range, F2, Control Shift down, F2 to F1001, and then type a comma. Now it's asking for the criteria. I'll scroll up, but not necessary. In the criteria, double quotes, less than 0, close the double quotes, close the parentheses. Hit enter, and I have 17. So the chance of a loss would be, that's not chance, cannot type tonight, the chance of a loss is the number of losses divided by the number of observations. So I'll take J4 and divide by 1,000. Format in the percentage, home, percentage, and then increase the decimals a couple of times. So we can see from our Excel analysis that there's about a 2.3% chance that we'll have a loss in this investment in a new machine with 1,000 trials. Now let's do it using the analytic solver. So to use the analytic solver, I'm just going to delete the range of the years 1 through 5. So I'm just going to hit delete. And I've already done my statistics here, so don't worry if it messes up your table. Now in year 1, I'm going to click the analytic solver, distributions, normal. The mean was 8,000, if you remember, that was given in the book, and the standard deviation is 500. And I click Save to draw the distribution, and I click Save again. Now, because again there's no cell references, I can just use the fill handle and copy that formula down to year 5. And notice how I have 5 different random numbers from the normal distribution. So now my data table works again. The second step, if you remember in the analytic solver, we're going to click cell B12 and set it as a result cell. So making sure that I'm on the analytic solver tab, click results, and then in cell. So notice it added the plus psi output, open parentheses, close parentheses. Third step, options. 2,500 trials is okay. Monte Carlo, everything else we can accept the defaults. Click OK. And now the final step is to run the simulation. So in Solve Action, under Simulate, run once. So I've run my model. This is cell B12, the objective. So notice I have a mean of 1949 and a standard deviation of 904. And it's not working with my data table, but that was very similar to what we had before to the data table. So calculating the percentage of a loss, notice once again we have that red line for the lower, and I have the 494 up above. So I'm going to click where it says 494, and I'm just going to type the number 0 and then hit enter. And it looks like I have a 1.52% chance of having a loss, because notice the 1.52% is to the left of the lower. So we've been able to answer this question both with the analytic solver and using a data table.